poem. Okay, so this poem is about losing something we love and then learning to grow up. Like as we talk about little kids, what happened with the little kids or the young ones? Whenever they lost something that is very precious to them, they feel very bad about it, and they kept on thinking about it. They are so attached to those little things that they are not able to come out of that thing. The thing that they have actually lost. Now this poem is also about losing something that is materialistic and something that is very close to us, and then we just lose it, and then we learn how to grow up, how to grow our emotions even when the thing is not with us. So the ball poem is actually about a young boy who is in deep sorrow and grief after losing his ball. So there is a kid who has lost his ball and who is in deep sorrow and grief because the ball was his very favorite ball and he had a lot of emotions attached to it. So if you go back, like if you go back when you are grown up, if you go back your home and open your almiras and take out your old stuff from there, you feel very happy ki ye mera tha, I used to wear it when I was a kid. Or if your mother shows you your any piece of cloth which belonged to you when you were young or during your infant days, so you feel very happy and very glad about it that this thing belongs to you. So similarly, every human being has some emotion attached to all these materialistic things. So the poet also shows how people get attached to materialistic things, but these things will not stay forever. So all these materialistic things are not going to stay with you forever. And people, they do not realize it. People, they do not understand that materialistic things do not have as much value as emotions. And what we tend to do, we tend to put our emotion into these materialistic things. So how to overcome that? How a kid overcomes it? We'll be seeing it in the poem. So he says, no one can buy things back. Something which is lost is lost. You cannot just go and bring it back. Sometimes it's not even possible to bring back something. Like most of the times it happens that like when boys are playing cricket, their ball is lost. So it's not easy to find the ball if once it is lost. And similarly, if we talk about the near and close ones of ours, if somebody who is very close to us, if somebody very dear to us, if we lose that person, if that person dies, so we cannot bring back that person to life. This is what is being taught. Something which is gone. You cannot just bring it back to life. Now he is trying to understand the real truth of life by accepting the miseries of life and standing up again. So there are things which will put you down in life. Several times in your life you will feel very low and very down. Most of the time when things are being taken away from you, you are going to feel that life is very harsh upon you. But that's when you need to accept the real truth. The real truth of life is that miseries are part of life and it happens to everyone. So instead of feeling down and low about it, you need to stand up again and fight against it. This is what is being taught. And then the last thing the poet wants to convey is that suffering is inevitable part of life. Suffering is something that you cannot avoid. It belongs to everybody. It is going to come. You cannot just avoid it and say no ke mat aao and it will not come. It is going to come to everyone. So what one needs to do is they need to learn and accept to let it go instead of crying and feeling bad and being depressed about it. What one needs to do is to learn and let go things very easily. Now let's see what happens to young boy in this poem. Moving on to the poem, we see that what is the boy now who has lost his ball? What is he to do? I saw it go, merrily bouncing down the street, and then merrily over there it is in the water. Now what we see that there is a boy who is actually playing with his ball, who is very enjoying, very merrily, he's enjoying every little moment while he's playing with his ball. What he is to do, but suddenly what happens, the poet, he's asked the question that what now boy is going to do? As the boy saw its ball merrily bouncing down the street. So what the ball did, first of all, the ball was bouncing on the street, and then the ball has gone into the water in the sea. So now the boy who is seeing his ball rolling down the street and then going to the sea, and he could see that his ball is actually going far away from him. Though the boy who was happy to see his ball bouncing, because the ball was also ball also was enjoying and bouncing. Obviously, ball is a non-living being and a non-living thing, and it cannot bounce, especially it cannot bounce merrily. So we can say that it is personification. What the poet has done, given the characteristics of person or human being to a non-living thing, ball, and made him merrily bounce. Now, what the little boy is doing, he's just seeing his ball going far away from him, and the ball was merrily dancing on the street, and then it went into the sea. No use to say, oh, there are other balls. So now the poet says that there is no use of telling this little boy that there are other balls also. An ultimate shaking grief fixes the boy. Now what happened? There is an ultimate grief that is being fixed in the boy. Now the boy is being taken away by an ultimate, very deep shaking grief that his ball is being taken away from him, that his ball is actually lost. He is in a grief because that was his favorite ball, and he knew he will never get it back because the ball is into the ocean. And he could see, while he was standing near the seashore, he could see the ball going away from him. As he stands rigid, trembling, staring down. So he is standing rigid. He is not moving. He is in such a grief that he is unable to move his body, and he is standing still over there, and he is obviously trembling, shaking, and he is staring down. He is looking down constantly to his ball all his young days into the harbor. So harbor is basically a port where ships and boats are being tied. It is near the water bodies. So where he is standing near the harbor, and he could see that all his young days are going far away from him. Now what the poet wants to say is that it was not just a ball. It was not just a non-living thing, a small piece of non-living thing. It was not that for the poet, for the young boy. It had lot of emotions, lot of things which his childhood or his young days composed of. All those memories were in the ball. So the ball had lot of memories of his childhood days and his young days. So that's why the little boy is in deep shock, is not able to believe that what is happening down, and that's why he is trembling and looking at the ball, that it is not just a ball. He feels that all his young days are being taken away from him. All the memories of his young days are going far away from him with that little ball. So he's standing on the harbor, realizing that his ball went. So as he's looking, standing on the harbor and looking into the water, what he's saying that his ball went. His ball is going far away from him. I would not intrude on him. Now the poet says that I would not go and intrude means basically invade. So poet is not going to go up to the little boy and say something to say or console him or convince him that he'll get him another ball. So the poet does not want to do anything. A dime another ball is worthless. So poet says because he does not want to go to the boy and console him that don't worry, it is just a ball, you will get another ball. The poet does not want to do it because he already is aware of how it is such a worthless thing, because that ball was not just a ball, it had lot of memories. So even if the poet gets him a new ball, the new ball will not have the same memories that which the old one had. He has played with the ball since his young days. So that's why poet is saying that it is worthless to give the boy a new ball. Now he senses first responsibility, and moreover, the poet wants to say that this is the first time the little kid will know his responsibility. He senses means he is now responsible enough to know what his responsibilities are. Who? The little boy. Now the little boy, when he lost his very precious thing, he will realize that he is responsible for all the things he owns. In the world of possessions, people will take balls. So he says that now every person is responsible for whatever things they own or whatever things they possess. In a world of possessions, means in a world of materialistic in a materialistic world where everybody has some or the other possessions, everybody has some or the other materialistic thing. People need to understand the responsibility. As the kid is growing and as a kid is turning into an adult, or kid is growing basically, so the kid needs to understand the sense of responsibility, that everybody has some responsibility and everybody has to take care of their own belongingness. So this is what the poet wants to say, that in a world of possessions where everybody has something or the other, I have a car, you have a car, maybe somebody else has a favorite toy, a little kid has a favorite toy maybe. So everybody has everybody has a house. So what is a house, a car? It is their possessions and everybody is responsible for their own possessions. Now take it in this way, now my neighbor is not going to take care of my car, mere padosi nahi karenge, I have to do it. My neighbor are not going to take care of my house, I have to do it. So that is what the sense of responsibility is. If you are having something, you are responsible for it, nobody else. Like for the little kid, if the little kid lost his ball, it is he who is responsible, not his neighbor, not his parents, not even the poet. So that is what the poet wants to make you understand, that in the world of possession where everybody owns something, you are the one who are responsible for it, and people will take balls. That somebody or the other is going to snatch it away from you. Somebody is going to take it away from you. It's up to you how you're grabbing it in your hand, how you're holding it in your hand, that you should not let it go easily. Now the poet wants to say that balls will be lost always, little boy, and no one buys a ball back. So now poet is actually talking to the little boy. He's addressing the little boy. Balls are going to be lost always. By ball, he's just not meaning a particular thing. He's talking about all the materialistic things plus something which is not in your hand, like all the emotions, like we can talk about death, we can talk about grief, we can talk about sorrow. It will always be, you will always be having. Even the happiness, it's not going to stay with you forever. So that's what poet wants to say. He's talking, addressing the little boy and telling him that it's something that is going to be taken away. It is something that's not going to last with you forever. And no one buys a ball back. So something you have lost, you're not going to get it back. Obviously, you are going to get another ball, you're going to get another replacement of that ball, but you're not going to get the same ball back. And no one buys a ball back. We're talking about a particular ball which the little boy has actually lost. Money is external. Money is something that is external, and you cannot buy a lot of things with money. Even if you have money, you cannot go and buy everything around you. Suppose this little kid who has lost a ball into the sea, money cannot bring the same ball back because the ball is now is far away from the kid and it's lost. So even if you have a lot of money, money is not going to bring the same ball back. Money is not going to bring a dead one alive. Money cannot do that. So money is something that is external, and all these things he is learning. He refers to the little boy, and the little boy is at such an age that he is learning all these little things, that materialistic things will not last with you forever, that money is external, money cannot buy you everything. All these little things the little boy is actually learning. Well, behind his desperate eyes, the epistemology of loss, how to stand up. Now, behind his desperate eyes are still desperately waiting for the ball. Desperately means very badly he just wants that ball. He is looking at the ball, and his eyes, if you look into the eyes of the little kid, you will realize how badly kid is looking at the ball and how badly he wants the ball. The epistemology of loss. Epistemology means the knowledge of loss, how to stand up. Now the poet wants to say that the kid has finally understood the knowledge of loss, that loss is part of life. That someday or the other day you are going to lose a lot of things in life. That is the true knowledge he has got, and no matter whatever you lose, you need to go back and stand up. He has understood, the little kid has understood that even if he loses several things, instead of going back and lunging with those things, what he has to do, he has to stand up and fight against it so that he can get all those things back. Knowing what every man must one day know, and most know many days how to stand up. So what the poet wants to say, that the little kid will now understand and should know what every man is aware of, what every man on this planet is aware of, and one day everybody who is not even aware, like little kids, they'll also know one day. And most know many days how to stand up. So it's not like suffering is part for sufferings and loss is part for everyone. So maybe some people are having less, some people are having more, some people is having only having sufferings for 1 or 2, someone is suffering for many days or years. So even if you are suffering for many days, you should know how to stand up. You should know that you cannot just let go things away. You need to stand up and fight for it. Now there is one more interesting thing in this poem, that poet maybe is also comparing himself to his younger days. When he is showing a little boy, he is talking about his youth days by the name of little boy. So we can say little boy could be a metaphor of his young early days. Now poet actually is feeling bad about how his age is just passing by. Poet is looking back when he was just a little kid and he used to enjoy everything so freely. He had no worries at all. And looking back at it, poet is in great deep sorrow and grief that he cannot go back to his younger self, to the younger old days when poet is remembering it. And maybe the poet wants to console himself by writing this poem like a little boy has lost his ball and is standing up against it because nobody is going to buy him the same ball back. Similarly, poet is consoling his own self, telling himself that his youth days are over, his young days are over, and no matter whatever the poet do, no matter how much money poet is having, poet cannot bring his old days back. And instead of grieving about it, instead of feeling sad about it, all poet could do is to stand up against it and fight for it, to feel happy about it, that whatever is coming in his life is part of his life. Instead of grieving, he should stand up and face the reality well. So this was all in this poem.